Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, everybody. ZPLive episode 33. We are, we're almost mid-April already. We're going to blink and it's going to be May. Hope everybody's doing great. We're going to talk about the downside of flipping houses. It always sounds glamorous. There's lots of TV shows about them. And they are great, right? When a little background on us, we actually started here in Las Vegas as just flipping, right? We moved down here to flip houses. We were working with an investment company, and we were doing some flips, and it was great. Between the Las Vegas area and the Northern California area, we were basically part of over 500 flips between 2010 and kind of currently. So that's kind of what we did. That's how Sydney and I both landed down in the Las Vegas area. And it was great, right? We did a number of flips. I think we did close to 70, 75 flips in a few years. Had one real client and got to kind of create our own inventory, which was a lot of fun. Most of them, and I will say most of them did very, very well profitably. There were a few, however, interesting ones that we'll always remember. And I figure this would be just kind of a fun story and a fun way to kind of say, hey, not all flips are created equal. And, you should definitely not take this lightly. And definitely if you have a heart condition, probably not the right business to get into, because there's been several times where I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. So want to give you one story in particular today, kind of a flip gone wrong, if you will. In the end, we'll tell the end story first. It didn't turn out horribly. I think we basically broke even on it, give or take, maybe made a little bit, maybe lost a little bit. But the story definitely was an interesting one. So not going to name addresses, not going to name too many time frames out there, because there are some people out there, some of our flip friends who could definitely pull some records and see what I'm talking about. So the address will remain nameless. So this was a property we bought about 5 years ago. It was in Las Vegas, so I will say it was in the city of Las Vegas, and that's about it. And that's that. There's a good indicator. But when we were doing our due diligence, we knew the property was occupied, so we planned for that, and we thought it was in a really nice neighborhood. We thought it was a single-story property that was in good condition. So when it came time to doing our homework, both Sydney and I were aggressively pricing it. It was in a really good neighborhood and everything. So the day of the auction, I'll still remember this. It was a colder day here. I think there may have been some rain, maybe not. And we're sitting huddled underneath the little cover where the auctions are held. And the property comes up. And like anything else, when you're bidding on homes and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars with cashier's checks, the adrenaline gets going a little bit. So I remember the adrenaline got going, and they called the address, and the auctioneer said going once, going twice, third and final, and nobody was bidding, and that's generally a sign that the price was too high. So, but we were interested, and we thought we knew more than everybody else knew. It's usually a good sign of being in trouble. So we asked them to put it on hold. So before they said third and final, we asked for it to be held. It was held for a couple minutes. Sid and I kind of looked at each other, ran some numbers really quickly, and thought for sure that this was, I wouldn't call it a slam dunk, but definitely worth bidding. So the auctioneer called off a couple other properties and then came back to it. And sure enough, we basically spent a penny more and had nobody else bid on it. So the house was ours, which again, when you're the only one bidding on the house, it usually is either really good or really bad, right? You either know more than everybody else, maybe you have a buyer already, or it's really bad because maybe you missed something. So writing the checks over to the trustee, my hand was probably shaking a little bit. Was getting some looks from some of our fellow auction buddies, if you will. But like anything else, you take it, you say, we're going to deal with it. So I think at this point, we were both still excited. And that's probably the last time on that whole deal we got excited. whenever home is occupied, we usually, we'll go generally knock on the door, try to play polite. We have a posting ready to go, something that's ready to be sent certified mail and all that stuff. So I head to the property, walk through the courtyard entry. Again, really nice home, single level home, has this beautiful glass door so you can kind of see into the house. And I'm thinking to myself, man, I think we hit a home run. Knocked on the door, and the door opened, and there were a couple younger individuals in the home. They, of age where they could be homeowners. They weren't like teenagers or anything, but late, early mid-20s, maybe late 20s or so. Definitely kind of looked a little out of it. So I just said, is this your home? And they said, no, our parents own it. And I said, oh, okay, well, we just purchased the property at auction. Would love to work with you and help with the wording I used to always use is, help with this next stage. Basically meaning, let's help get you out of the house. We're not going to try to evict you. That's always a last case scenario. But, we want you to leave the house amicably. We'll give you a little bit of money, that kind of thing. So I left, and that was it. Figured we made the posting, and we at least made contact. So the next morning, I got a call from the female occupant, and she said, "Sorry about yesterday. I was a little surprised. My mom doesn't own the home. We're actually renting the property, and we just moved in." And so my pardon me, my BS detector started going off. Knowing that that's kind of a line that we get quite a bit when somebody was trying to pull our leg on something or trying to get more money. So I said, that's fine. The next thing I'd like to do is come meet with you guys just to kind of take a look at the condition of the property and talk to you about how we can go about getting you help moving and finding a new place. So meet with them on Monday. The following Monday, I think we bought a house on a Friday. And I walk into the house, and the first thing I noticed was the house smelled like marijuana. It was like such a, this is a strong smell. And this is obviously, whatever your thoughts are on marijuana, it's fine. This was well before it was legal here, as well before it was for sale here. And I mean, you could smell it from the courtyard. It was pretty strong. Talking to him, I realized as I'm going through the house, there were not one, not two, not three. There were 14 people living inside the house. Most of them were young kids. There were a couple older adults, and there was one adult female. Little interesting again. So go through the house. They're very nice, a little, obviously, as you can imagine, a little mellow and a little melancholy, if you will. Made it to the formal dining room and decided to snicker when I saw a pole in the dining room. So there was a dancer's pole, to put it bluntly, in place of formal dining room. So, hey, you know what? Nobody really eats in formal dining rooms these days. Apparently that's where there's the pole. So kind of was starting to formulate what was going on in my head, and got the information from them that I needed, got out of there as quickly as I can, right? So I got their emails and left. As I left the house, I could hear music going on. I could hear some yelling and screaming. I said, okay, look, we just got to get these people out. So long story short, the email addresses I got for the two people that were in charge, definitely one of them, the female occupant, gave me her name, but her email address was a totally different name. Thought that was weird, so I just Googled the email address name and definitely found confirmation she was a Las Vegas woman of the night, if you will, with a full-on profile in a website and everything like that. So it was like, okay, I wouldn't call it a high-quality one, but definitely one. So, and what we definitely found out was obviously he was her business manager, and that's the right way to be. Daphne's laughing. He was her business manager, and she was, working the streets. So figured the best thing to do was to get these people out as quickly as possible. There were a lot of kids there. It was just getting weird. So we actually did get them out within 2 weeks. It was obviously a kind of a bogus lease, but they were willing to take a check and get out. So fast forward, they got out. I met with them, gave them the check, watched them leave. The house was vacant, had it rekeyed immediately. As I'm rekeying the house, I'm walking around the front. The front, I had like 2 or 3 separate neighbors come up to me and thank me for getting them out of the house. So obviously this was worse off than I thought. I looked down, at the sidewalk, and I noticed a couple unopened cases, and one was opened of protection, if you will. So that was just thrown on the street in a nice community. So yeah, that's the type of clients we were technically getting rid of, and gave them some cash to get going. So fast forward a little bit, I think I'm thinking to ourselves, okay, that's a fun story. Let's get on with it. The house is great. It was in actually really good condition. We did our normal remodel on it. Everything's fine. So we get the house on the market, and we start, have some immediate showings on it. We get a couple quick offers that were a little bit low, but nothing horrible. We're still feeling really good about the house. And then we noticed that there was that time frame of it just didn't happen. It was around the holidays. Everything was getting a little slow. So we had one agent that didn't work for us, wanted to hold the home open on a weekend. So I said, cool, no problem. Here's the address, blah, blah, blah. The day of the open house, the agent called me and said, hey, just got to the house. The front door was wide open. Never a good sign, because the lockbox hadn't been accessed in a while. So I said, okay, got it. Let me check this out for you. So I actually met her at the house, did a quick walk through the house with her. Didn't notice anything. No broken windows, no broken doors, no anything. Walked into the master bathroom and noticed up in the ceiling, in the master closet, where there was the access panel to the attic space and where the furnace was moved. Never a good sign. So I immediately, said, okay, let's cancel the open house. And I called the cops, and I called our air conditioning guy, who got to the house, went up into the attic, and sure enough, all the copper in the furnace and in the HVAC unit was destroyed and was removed. So we were now dealing with having to repipe the HVAC system, which was going to cost $4,000, $5,000, $6,000. I don't remember the number, for probably what was the equivalent of maybe $200 worth of scrap material for whoever stole it. What made it even worse was as we were going through, we noticed in the hall bathroom, not only did we get broken into and robbed of copper, one of the thieves decided to use the facilities and tried to wipe with napkins from a fried chicken place. So we actually, on top of that, to make matters even worse, we had a clogged toilet with napkins from fried chicken and no water in the toilet. So it went from bad to worse to really gross. So had that done, got the alarm set up on the house, because the house, at this point was still on the market. We had just got an offer. We were getting it into contract. We did disclose there was new piping, all that stuff. So this horror story was almost getting done. So I think I'm done until probably about a week later. It's about 3 a.m, and the alarm goes off. So as kind of the people that were running the fund, the alarm calls obviously go to me. So at 3, 4 a.m, I get up, and in snow flurries, I drive down to this part of town in my car in basically pajamas with a baseball bat. Anybody who knows me knows if I run into any type of situation like that, I'm going to be the last person to actually use a baseball bat. I'm probably going to be the last person to get out of the car. So I wait for the security guard, who, I kid you not, was probably 93 years old. And we sit there and we go through the house together. Long story short, there wasn't a break-in, thankfully, on this one, but it was just one of those, absolute funny situations where after all this is said and done, I'm running to the house, half asleep with a baseball bat and snow flurries. But we do get the house sold. As I said, we disclosed everything, but I'll never forget this house. If you're ever watching shows, these flip shows, they always give houses, special names or whatever. This house forever was definitely either, depending on the day I was talking about it, it was the stripper pole house or the fried chicken toilet house, or the missing copper house. So, yeah, that's just a quick tale of just a flip gone wrong. Again, like I said, we ended up selling it. Didn't do great, didn't do horribly. I think we were right around that break-even-ish kind of mark. But if you take all of the heartache, all of the the time and police calls and police reports into account, it just shows you, hey, sometimes flips are not as they're definitely not as beautiful and as luxurious as people think they are. You can have some downsides. You do need to know how to deal with stuff like this. So, as you're watching this, or if you watch this on a replay, what are your funny flip stories, if you have any? If you've done any flips or worked with a flipper, they're not all glory, as we know. So sometimes the bad ones are funny ones. And I know some of us can share stories, so I'd love to see any comments you guys have. And again, just trying to keep these weekly and light, so we'll probably go back to our regularly scheduled, informative type of show next week, because it's been a couple weeks off. But I figured, this house, I probably still think about this house, a couple times a year, especially if I'm driving through that neighborhood. I drive by the house now, and it's beautiful. The family we sold it to, redid the front yard. There's no more male protection strewn around, and it's but you can kind of chuckle, right? Because every house has a story, every flip definitely has a story, and not all of them are about awesome profits in like 3 days. So that's it for today. Until next week, Jeff Zahler, Zahler Properties, and ZPLive episode 33. Take care and have a great week.